So it's 10:30 at night. I was up around 8 o'clock or so. And I'm gonna jump right into my new meal pattern, which is eggs. I normally have eggs on Thursdays and Sundays, and have tomato sandwiches and salami sandwiches in between. Um, so I'm gonna actually just jump right into this because I've got the stove on. And when you don't want the stove to get, it might even actually be a little too hot. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you let the stove sit on too long like that. So just start off with a little bit of butter. Ooh, actually, in fact, I don't like that. So let's start over again here. Let's turn that off. Let's wipe that out, and let's redo that. Okay, so it's better. Um, Hopefully my fire alarm doesn't go off. I had the fan on for a few seconds there. Yeah, so normally the way this would work is I just turn that on for a few seconds, rather than a couple of minutes. Go ahead and crack some eggs or something, and then let the butter melt in. The reason that happened was because I was actually preparing all the things when it was on, and that's what happened. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways I make eggs. Let me put this down. This is actually a scrambled eggs recipe, which is the more frequent recipe for me nowadays. I hope this doesn't come out weird due to the heat issue, but as they say, it doesn't take long to make eggs, so hopefully there's enough heat in the combination of everything to get that out. Okay, so the typical egg drop, and of course, you want to wash your hands when you're touching with eggs. I tend to just let the water run for a little bit. It's the best way to kind of kill the salmonella or whatever else. Yeah, it seems like it's heating a little slowly. We'll see how that works out. The stove isn't always the best, but it's maybe a little slower than normal. Good enough for now. Yeah, so normally while that's cooking like that, what I'd be doing... I'm getting some heat off there. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, so I would normally have a little bit of more of a fluff by now, but whatever. Normally while that's doing that, I'd be chopping up salami, chopping up cheese, waiting for toast to come out of the toaster. Although that is not the bread I would normally use. The bread I would normally use is regular pumpernickel rye. I just happen to have some extra spaghetti bread lying around. And that's going to go... Well, normally when I do it with the pumpernickel, I would put the eggs right on top of it and eat it with a fork and a knife. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to leave it off the side just because, it's not toasted, and it's a different kind of bread, so it doesn't really kind of work out exactly. So I'm done with the margarine. I'll put that away. It doesn't melt. Yeah, it's coming up. Okay. So, waiting for eggs to cook is not. It's pretty self-explanatory. But it's in a sense, this is just bacon and eggs. Except I'm going with salami instead of bacon. I think I've explained this once before, but I say that the only meat I eat is salami. Really, the truth is that it's really bacon is the thing that I like. Oh shit! I forgot that I didn't get a spatula yet. Can I use this? Can I? Is that usable? Let's find out. Yeah, it's usable. I'll have to get a spatula when I head down to do my compost run there. Or, I could probably even get one across the street, but um, yeah, the problem with bacon is that it's not well, I mean, it is pre-cooked, but it's still kind of raw. Um, I mean, even the deli meat I cook, just to kind of make sure, kind of thing. But my main opposition to meat is not really. I mean, I kind of agree in an abstract environmental sense that we should minimize our meat consumption, but I don't really think it's that much of a concern. If we can keep, I mean, if we have to choose between, you know, plastic toys and beef, I think I'd prefer to choose beef over plastic toys, kind of thing. But I mean, there's certainly a valid argument. I mean, even just from the land use perspective, you can't continue to make meat forever. But for me, the big thing is actually not that I'm dumping the salami in, but the fact that I don't like raw meat in the house. To me, it's like raw meat is basically like biohazard. You don't know what the hell you're bringing into the house in terms of everything from um, like just basic bacteria to prions or whatever. I put generally 3 chunks of salsa on at this point. It mixes it up, gives it a little bit of extra sauce, partly so the eggs don't burn as I'm waiting for the cheese to melt. I will also use real tomatoes and real green peppers from time to time, but I mean the salsa. For me, the salsa, it's partly a financial issue, but it's also just like it's just convenience, and I think I get basically the same end result out of it, considering that I eat a lot of tomatoes anyways, and I get more than enough C from other sources. So I just put the cheese in, and that's basically all there is to it. I'll let that sit for a few minutes. Not even a few minutes, it's more like a few seconds. Let the cheese melt. I chopped the cheese instead of grated it for the eggs. Because when you make eggs like this, if you grate the cheese, it just disappears. So chopping it lets it exist more. When you're eating it, you get kind of nuggets of it out. So I'm going to move this over to my plate. Here. And I am still going to need to get some more out of the pan, but that's the basic idea. Salt and pepper on top, and this is my basic egg formula, or like a modified basic egg formula. I'll do it again when I get down when I get down to the rye. So this isn't going to end up in the culinary series, but you get the basic idea here. And I have that twice a week. Make sure I get all of my my protein from the eggs that way. So it's just about 7 a.m. And it's that point where I need to make that hard choice. Do I put this aside or do I plow on? Well, these are my 2 options here. I could put this aside for a few weeks. Immediately fill an order for some new headphone cables and the other accessories around it. Wait for it to get here and hope it works. Or I could buy that last pack of cigarettes, go through the process as I suggested, which is song, smoke, song, smoke, song, smoke. and perhaps slowly, but I think surely, come to a conclusion on a track-by-track basis. Um, of course, the other option is to dive into the non-smoking and approach the mixing at um, half power, which I'm going to rule out. It's either I wait or I do it. I'm going to go with the smoking and to figure it out. The reason is this: if there was any question that the remaining issue, it's very dark in here, all the lights are off. But if there was any question that the remaining issue was related to interference, I eliminated that this morning. When I first turned on the mixer, it wasn't good, and I was thinking, I'm gonna put this away, everything else. But I turned all the lights off, and turning the lights off seemed to make a big difference. On top of that, I started noticing with the lights off, whatever remaining interference is left is pretty weak. I'm able to get myself around it simply by by blocking the table with my body, by putting my arms around my neck, these kinds of things. And I think that with the understanding and certainty that the really only issue that's left is interference, and the various tactics that I've determined are of various use, such as lying on the floor, blocking myself from. It seems part of the sources of the interference is the lights. Part of it's the devices. I mean, I think the problem has to be in the phones, rather, and the phones are just picking everything up. And that if I'm going to fix this, it's not getting. I mean, either there's a really bad short somewhere in the electrical system, and everything, it's created a problem with everything, or it's just that the phones are fucked, and I need to find a way to fix that, right? So I don't want to start doing things like throwing electrical tape on it and everything until I can swap the cords out. But I do think that I have enough information that I can deal with it in the short term to finish the tracks and put myself on the path that I wanted to put myself on. And that's a big part of my thinking here. I mean, these tracks are mostly done, right? I'm not really doing anything with them other than trying to make sure they sound right. And it's been this struggle for months just to find a way to make them sound the way that I remember them sounding when I mix them. And the constant, questioning, did they really sound that way, or are they supposed to sound this way, everything else. And I have worked myself down to the answer that they did sound the way I wanted them to sound, and that I can get to that point by ensuring that I'm blocking out, or I'm cradling the headphones enough that I'm not picking up interference. So that said, I think that that's what I should do. Some of the process, I'm not. The end result of this is not going to be a solution, right? I'm still going to have interference problems when I'm done the project, and I'll have to approach that afterwards. Hopefully, it's as simple as swapping the cords out. If it's not, I don't know what the next. I'm gonna start experimenting with things like electrical tape and cutting up pantyhose and all that kind of stuff, right? But for right now, I am convinced that I can finish this project, and that's enough for now. So that's what I will do, which requires one more. Well, I buy them two at a time, so two more packs of smokes, and it is with the demand on myself that this is finished. If not by Monday, then by Tuesday. I smoke about half a pack a day. That's actually going to decrease with this. So if I buy 2 packs, I'm looking at probably about 5 days. It's Friday, so the 2 packs will allow me to finish the project and get out of limbo. What getting out of limbo means is getting my compost out, doing my monthly cleaning, finally doing laundry, and it's been far too long since I showered. So these sorts of things. On the other side of the mixing project, I just I don't feel I can give up yet. I have to give myself one more opportunity to finish it. That said, if at any point I find myself running up against something that I can't fix, then I need to abort immediately. I can't. I'm not going to fuck around with it anymore. If I can't, like, if I get, I mean, I'll try a few things and everything, but if I find myself stuck, then I'm not going back. I'm not retracing steps. I'm aborting, ordering the shit, and waiting. This is my last opportunity to put myself on the path I wanted to put myself in, to throw myself out of limbo to all the things I wanted. Like I said before the other day, it's gonna be nice the next couple of days. So it works itself out. But at the same time, this is the end of this purgatory. Because I have to have this done by the end of the year, one way or another. And this is really the only way to do it at this point. So that's the plan is, track by track. If I gotta lie on the floor, I gotta lie on the floor. And if I gotta leave all the lights off, I gotta leave all the lights off. If I need to put a blanket or a sock over my head, then that's what I'll have to do for a little bit. And hopefully when the new cords come in, that's enough. If it's not enough, that's when I'm going to be put into a crisis situation, because it's the only thing left that's reasonable. I may end up having to, well, no. Well, maybe, I don't know. I might have to buy some new headphones, but I mean, I'm obviously not going to do that until I'm convinced that it'll actually resolve the issue, right? Something that's going to help in the next couple of days is I'll convert these tracks to MP3, and I'll listen to them when I'm walking. The walking phones do have the noise reduction, so they do modify the signal, but at the same time, getting out of the unit is going to take me out of whatever the problem is. If it is in see, I was getting the same issue with both phones, but you have to understand that the other phones are designed to take interference, and you're supposed to turn the battery on, but I didn't want to do that because it does interfere. So it's really not a good set of phones to test with. You almost expect it to pick up the noise because they're open. They're not open back, but they have holes in them. They have microphones, right? So they're not sealed, and that's by design, right? So it doesn't really make any sense to make the comparison. On top of that, I may have just been hearing the basic issue of draining the fuel around the phones, and then when they turn them back on, you can hear it come back up, right? So I'm gonna head to the store. Well, actually, I'm not gonna head to the store right now. I have one more cigarette from the last pack, but I am going to throw myself into this with intent, and I do expect to be done by the end of the weekend. So help me God. So it's a little after 8, and track 1 is confirmed. That's a start.